Hi there, I'm Christina from hairromance.com, and I'm going to tell you all about what to do when you first get your Airwrap and how to use it properly. Let's get started. If you've just got a Dyson, congrats. I'm so excited you've just found me with this video. I love Dyson. I have been using them since they first came out, and I've been working with them over the last 18 months. So I've kind of had a little bit of an insight behind the scenes, but I've also taught them a few things about how I like to use the Dyson, which they hadn't really thought of. So it's a bit of an interesting one. So I feel like I know the products really, really well, and they can be a little bit confusing when you first get them out of the box. Dyson has their own tutorials, which you should definitely watch, but if you're a bit like me, I hate reading the instructions. I didn't do that. And so I made a few mistakes when I was first styling with it. I tried to stuff it up as much as possible, just so I could see how you could get it wrong. And eventually I found out that I really liked them. And I say that in a kind of disappointed way, because sometimes you don't want to like something so much. You just think, oh, maybe it's expensive, it can't be that good. And then you're like, no, it really is. So I'm just making this video just to let you know, if you are struggling, you're not alone. They are a little bit tricky to get started with, and this is exactly what I told my friend and what I'm telling you, so that you can get great hair as well. First, I want to go through a couple of little things that really help me with styling with the Airwrap. This is the comb that's actually from Dyson as well. I really love this, but a wide tooth comb, something you can really gently comb through your hair afterwards. It's really, really important. And just a couple of clips. I separate my hair into two sections when I'm styling, and so having two clips makes it really, really easy. You can use a hair elastic if you've only got one clip, but having a clip just makes it really fast to take sections out and restyle as you're going. So I find these really help. So let's talk about what's actually in the box. This one. Dyson originally brought the Airwrap out just with this size barrel, but now it's also come out with the long barrel as well. And so you can see there's a little bit of a difference in the length of the barrel, but the actual diameter of the barrels are exactly the same. The long barrel is recommended if you have chest length hair or longer, but personally I find, even though my hair is only shoulder length, it's very thick, I have a lot of it, I really prefer the long barrels just because it gets through more hair in a shorter period of time for me. And I find myself not using the shorter barrels as much ever since I got the long. These are sold separately in addition to coming with the kit, so you can buy extra accessories of a different size if you change your mind or if you cut your hair. But that's what you'll find in there. You'll also find that there are two diameter barrels in there. So the smaller barrel is what I used in my hair, and there's also the larger one, which works for giving you more of a bouncy blowout kind of feel. I always feel like it's given me the best salon blow dry, but I've done it myself at home from wet to dry. I love it. So that's the Airwrap wavers that I think are the most innovative thing as part of the Airwrap. These are a total game changer for me, and I haven't picked up a curling wand for a very, very long time. The only time I picked up a curling wand is just to restyle when my hair is actually curly, because I only ever curl my hair with these now. Sometimes with the Dyson flat iron, but only when I'm in a major rush. This is the one I go to otherwise. The attachment I reach for always first, though, in the box is this little hairdryer attachment. The reason this is because while you style your hair from wet to dry, you actually curl your hair when it's sort of more damp. If it's too wet, it takes too long to dry and it doesn't really curl around the barrel properly. But so you want to blast out about enough water so that your hair is damp to the touch, but not wet to the touch. And so you can feel that it's damp, but it's not leaving any like water residue on your fingers. That's when you'll know you've blasted out enough water from your hair with this. The other attachments in here, which all just connect with the little switch at the back with a little lock symbol. Bring it down to unlock it, take it off, and then swap it over, and then just pop on the next attachment. This is the round volumizing brush. Probably because I have a lot of hair, I find this is the one I use the least, but it is fantastic for restyling your bangs, adding in a little bit of extra volume, and also if you have sort of more curly wavy hair and you want to, when you are actually using the straightening brushes, this gives like a really beautiful finish over the top. That's the one I'll go to. I think this is really, really interesting. It doesn't rotate, and it's just a fixed brush, but I like this because no tangles, so much easier, really, really simple. So I use this one for using volume at the front and things like that. But you'll get two brush head attachments in your kit. One is for fine hair, and that will always have the little colored tips on the end of the bristles, and you'll also feel that the bristles are a little bit more flexible. The airflow that comes out through these does give you a smoother blow dry, and these are great if you just want to do a straight blow dry, or if you just want to add in a little bit of a curl at the end of your hair. That can work quite well, and then finish with this one at the bottom. So when you look at the kit, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. There's so many different attachments. And to show you exactly how I get this look, let's go. The Airwrap is designed to be used on freshly washed hair. So I've washed my hair and I've also put in a little bit of mousse. This is a heat protectant and it's also just going to give a little bit more structure and hold to my hairstyle because I want to be using the curlers and I want that to last a little bit longer. So a good lightweight product like a mousse works really well, or if you have some sort of thickening spritz or something that you like to use before you do a blow dry, that is what I'd recommend. So this is the first attachment I'm going to use, and I like to use it at full power because I've got a lot of hair and it's not as strong as the supersonic. So if you have the supersonic dryer, it is probably like about a midway point to that. And so it works to blast the water out of your hair but not get it too dry. So I use this initially just to get that water out of my hair to maybe like 50–60%, and then we go from there. It's definitely something that once you practice, you go by feel, and you also know with your hair texture how damp it needs to be to change shape. My hair is naturally kind of wavy curly, kind of like a 2C, 3A kind of wave curl. And so for me, I definitely need a little bit more moisture. But if you have quite fine, straight, wavy hair, you can probably blast a little bit drier. You'll know what suits your hair type. Now, when you're air drying just with an open barrel like this, if you've got a sort of curly or wavy or hair that tends to be frizzy, oh, I've got hair right across my face. There we go. You can find this is when the frizz is really going to start to build up. So that's probably where I would grab like a paddle brush and start sort of blow drying it a little bit smoother. But that's why with the Airwrap, you can swap it to a brush. And you've got the two choices, the fine brush, which will have the little coloured tips on the end. That's how you know that one, because those little tips are softer and they're gentler on your scalp. Or thick hair like mine, definitely want to go for just the regular barrel. The only difference with these is the flexibility of the bristles and that little softness at the edge. So sensitive scalp or fine hair, go with the coloured tip, and thick or curly hair, go with the more rigid brush. And like the barrels, these also do swivel a little bit, they move, and that is also that co-anda air effect. Just going to swap the barrels over, and I'm going to pop this again on full. There's two ways to use this though, and I recommend the second way more because you'll initially want to use it straight down and kind of brush it through your hair like this. And that's great for getting those top layers. But what I really recommend if you've got hair that really needs to be stretched out before it'll curl is actually going underneath. This just gets more volume. I find I don't get such a flat and then frizzy bottom result with this. Actually going underneath like that is going to give you a better result, a straighter finish. Going from underneath and out is the technique to try. So I'm just going to run this through my hair a little bit. I don't want my hair to be dry though. I still want to have it damp enough so that I can change the shape of it with air while I do the curls. So this is just to take all that extra moisture, my hair's quite thick, out of the back here. I don't really do too much around the front unless, no, I don't really do too much around the front. I don't want to over dry all this hair at the front. It's these thicker layers at the back. So sometimes I'll even grab like a little clip, separate my hair up so that I know I can get that done a little bit faster. And I will start the first one's going down just to make sure that the brush goes through. Then I'll lift up a section and go under. And a tip you'll find when you're using the brush is I try to concentrate a little bit more closer to the roots of my hair. The ends of your hair get dried quite quickly, quite easily with the barrels if you're going on to curl after this. So just making sure you're getting the roots stretched out. I know for me, when I get really frizzy roots, that's the area that I'm looking at the most. So I don't worry about drying the ends completely dry. Also, they're older, so they will dry faster. They're a little bit more damaged. So I definitely try and focus more on that sort of this section of my hair. And so the way I'm focusing a little bit longer is actually just moving slower through this section of my hair and then just quickly finishing on the ends. Now, if your hair is naturally kind of smooth or straight, you don't really need to worry too much about this step, so you can kind of skip ahead. But if, like me, you have a lot of hair or frizzy hair, you'll need just to use this brush before curling. I don't do it too much though, as you'll see, it's just quick. All right, I'm going to drop down a layer of hair and just make sure I get all of this area underneath, because that's where I have a lot of hair and it takes a long time to dry. And we'll just do that last top section. And if you're wondering if this feels like it's a lot of work, I'm going slower just to show you exactly how I do it. And if your hair isn't as curly as mine, you can always just even let your hair air dry a little bit, just blast it and then move straight to the curls. So I don't really want to put you off as thinking, oh, this is a ton of steps. I'm just trying to get a really nice result so I can show you at the end. Even when I do my own hair, I may not do as much with the brush and go straight from like blasted to the curler, just because it's quicker and I know some techniques on how to do it better now, which I'm going to show you in a second. Now it's a little hard to show you on camera, but I want to try and explain what the right amount of moisture in your hair to curl looks and feels like. So on this part of my hair is still definitely damp, but my hand isn't really wet after touching my hair. Whereas I've left a section at the front here still quite wet. My fingers will have like a little bit of shine from the water on them afterwards, and that is too wet to use the air wrap. But this side is good. So I'm going to pop one of the long barrels on just to show you. And remember, the trick for using the long barrels, look in the mirror. You'll have two arrows pointing one out, one out. That's where you want them to be. You want to curl away from your face. So attach this on, and I'm going to show you with this bit of hair that is, I think, too wet. You'll see it won't attach to the curler. See how it's not wrapping itself around? Like I could actually physically wrap it and dry it this way, but it's not wrapping itself around, versus a section a bit further back, which I have dried properly, and I'll show you. That is wrapping itself around. Even that at the end is just a tiny bit still too wet. It would have to be on here longer. But that section is great, but this one you can still see, even though I've tried to dry it, it's not wrapping itself around, and it will do this. And any curl that's wrapped around like that is not going to come off looking good. You might get a little bit of a curl from pieces, but you're not going to get that really nice glossy wave, which is what you want to get from doing a full curl with the air wrap. So you can see if it's not wrapping around the barrel straight away, either pop this back on and just blast your hair again, or if your hair's a little frizzy, grab the brush and brush through again, and then you're ready to curl. So one of my tricks for styling with the air wrap when I'm doing waves is just to do one side of my hair at a time. This way I'm not swapping over barrels, I don't need to remember which way it goes, and I just do one half at a time. So I'm just going to split my hair roughly down the center, or wherever you like to part your hair. And at the back, I don't do like a really tight line because I don't want it to be as obvious when it's finished, but then I just take the right side of I always just, for some reason, do the left first, and I just take the right side of my hair, roll it up into a little bun so it's all out of the way and it won't dry. So I want to keep that same level of moisture in there. So by keeping it all tight together, it's going to keep it still damp but not let it dry out. And then with this hair, I'm going to, with this side on the left, I'm going to then work in little sections going up. And then I like to use a clip because it just makes it really easy one-handed to kind of take it up and down really quickly and work through. And a little trick, kind of random, I don't think they recommend this, but I often just use the little brush attachments because they're right here in the box with me, just to comb through the sections before I begin. Just helps me make sure that they're nice and smooth and don't have any knots in them. You don't want to curl knots into your hair. And also, really helpful if your hair is becoming too dry, just to keep a little water spray bottle. Now I have both the short and the long for the Airwrap. I have the short because that's all that came out at the very beginning, and I love this, fallen in love with this. But for me, even though my hair isn't that long, I really prefer the long barrel, simply because I can fit a little bit more hair around the barrel, and with having thick hair, it definitely makes it a little bit quicker for me. And my hair has been a lot longer this year, so I've been reaching for the long barrel a lot more. But really, either one doesn't really matter. And the two sizes that are available that I have that come with the standard kits, the larger barrel gives you that really soft blowout look, more just like a wave with volume, and you definitely get a little bit more curl and more like a sort of Hollywoody kind of wave with the smaller one. I'm going to go with the smaller one just so we can see a little bit more of the curl in my hair, because it's a little bit shorter at the moment. And I have, look in the mirror, I don't know if you can see there, the arrow for me is pointing this way, so I'm going to do this side of my hair. And like I said, this is going to stay up the whole time. I'm just going to bring in layers down and just make sure it's there. And the thing I really love about the Airwrap, so it's one of the things I rave about it, is that you can't mess it up. When you're curling with a flat iron, you really can mess it up, and it's kind of hard to redo a section if you've curled it wrong or if you put a dent in it or something like that. With the Airwrap, if you did a curl and you've done it the wrong direction, or you just don't like how it's turned out, maybe it's a little bit too frizzy, you can just respray the hair. Also, if it's starting to dry out a little bit too much, like I'm under some lights here, I can just respray it with some water, comb it through, and then restyle. It's so much less damaging to my hair, and that is why I make these videos, because I'm really obsessed with it and I love using it. So we've got one little section out. I take these sorts of pieces of hair. You'll know what fits around the barrel, but you'll be able to sort of have a sense of what works. If you take too much hair, you don't get the same even dryness all the way through, because it's really air that you want to get that hair contact with the barrel. So around about this much, have a little experiment to see how far you can push it and how much it doesn't curl. So you want to hold it tight. So I do it tight because the tension of my hair then reduces the amount of frizz I get in my hair. And about a couple of inches just from the ends of your hair. And then you put the barrel behind your hair. And so with it behind your hair, your fingers here, and that's when I switch it on. And I've got it on full, and we're going to heat it for about 5 seconds as it winds up, and then cool for about 10 seconds. Always cool for twice as long as you heat. So heating it, not so important, cooling it, really, really important. And that airflow is what is changing it. So behind, let the ends go. We're going to wrap around. And you can just move it up and it'll wind around, or you can twist it so you get a little bit more tension. So a couple of seconds like that, and then I'm pressing up to cool it. I'm going to do this in real time so you can see just how long I'm cooling it for. I actually then feel it to make sure it's feeling cool. And I can feel that my hair's dry. And then turn it off and then pull the curler down. And yes, you're going to get these like sausage curls. You got to trust the process. It is going to look bizarre. And you're going to be like, why have I spent so much time doing this? But as you go on, you'll become a lot quicker, and you'll realize that these curls are so voluminous, and your hair is so much healthier because you haven't put so much heat on it. It's all about the air. If you're doing this at high heat, you won't get the air to run really cool. It will still feel warm, but that is still setting your curl. I'm just going to grab that last section. And to me, this feels a little too dry already because I've been talking under lights. So I'm just going to spray it and comb it and just dampen it down a little. Remember, that kind of damp is not leaving water on your hands, but you can feel that your hair is still a little damp. and then straight to cool, and then most of this time I'm just cooling. That's it. And sometimes you'll see that if the hair is still a little bit separated, this one's fine, it's still too wet, and that's how you'll know you need to do it again. If the hair is separated in like little stringy sections, it's probably still damp. But if they come together in like a proper bouncy sausage curl, then they're ready to go. Then it's just a process of repeating this down every section of your hair until all your hair is done. And so I do one side at a time, so you don't need to worry about changing barrels. I like just to give my hair a little brush through. Helps me feel the moisture in it. I've been talking a lot, so I think it's a little dry. I'm just going to dampen. You shouldn't have to do this if you're just doing it yourself, but you might find the first few times you're doing it, you definitely will need to dampen the top sections again, but that is easy to do. And if you wet it too much, just blast it out again and keep going. Now on this one, with this hair, like I literally have only heated it 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and the rest I'm doing cool, because I know that that's just going to stay. Then I pull that out and it's done. The amount of water you take out of your hair before is really going to determine how long you have to do this section for. So remember, you're holding it, putting the curler behind, and then you can use just to help get that little end around, but it will also just wrap itself around. Now, you might have noticed I'm touching my hair quite a lot. My hair is quite thick, so I don't find my hair gets really oily from me touching it. If you have fine hair, you don't need to do that, but it's good to get a sense of it on the lower layers so you won't notice it as much. But I like to feel how my hair's feeling to see if it still feels damp. And also, if you have any flyaways or shorter layers, I just try to push them back in, and then you get a much smoother curl. I have a lot of layers cut into my hair, so I'm often just touching it just to make sure all of the layers are tucked in and getting that same smooth blow dry. And I find that that tension that I hold it with at the beginning as well really helps. And if you want to see the ends just wrap around, put it on the other side of your fingers here. Just see that wrap around and then roll up. The other thing you may notice me doing is sometimes spreading the hair out. To make it dry a little bit faster, I make sure that it's spread evenly along the barrel. If you've got it all wrapped in one little tight section and it's all on top of each other, the roots of your hair aren't getting as much air. So I do try to wrap it a little bit more evenly around the barrel just to get a quicker drying, more even curl. Now this one's looking okay, but I'm doing this for you, so I want you to see that I can do a little bit better. I'm going to do the same thing, hold it out, wrap the ends around, help it around. And just do a second or two of heat. Now I'm already on cold, I'm testing on cold. And then I'm just doing it again, just because this is one at the front. I know we're going to see it at the end, and just so that it's extra shiny, and you'll see that's got that little bit of extra shine through that one as well. I have a lot of hair, so I'm going to speed up the next 2 sections and come back while I'm doing the top layer so we all can do that together. All right, we're back to our top section. And a couple of tricks for really making sure that your curls are going to sit right is really paying attention to how you're drying the roots. I've been trying to angle them away and up so I get a little bit more volume in my curls. So although you're concentrating on getting the section straight, you also want to make sure you're getting a little bit of uplift at the roots and drying it in that sort of angle. That's going to give a nicer, like the way the curl will sit, actually a little bit smoother there. And with your front layers, you can bring in the brush, which sometimes I like to do, and may restyle a little bit at the end. But I always like to do with the curler first. And use this angle as the way of getting some extra volume in my hair, so that it's all lifted up and out. If you've got curtain bangs or sort of long layers at the front, I tend to comb them forward. And bring it over my face a little. Kind of into that sort of 70s bang at the moment, and I find that that gives me that like perfect curve to kind of bounce off to the side. Now it's time to do the other side, so I'm going to swap barrels. Pop that off and just click that into place. And yes, this looks ridiculous. I have full poodle curls on this side. Trust me, it's not going to finish like this. The whole point of the air wrap is that it curls more than you want so that it relaxes into something you actually want to wear. And on this side, my hair should still be damp because I've kept it all tightly rolled up together. But remember just to dampen down any sections if you need to. And we're going to do the same thing working from the bottom up. I usually try and put all of this hair out over my shoulder, just kind of keeps it out of the way. I don't clip this up or anything while I'm doing this side, just so that it stays there and dries and starts to drop. And I just roll this and clip it up out of the way. Now this is kind of going to be the same. So I think I'm probably just going to speed up this whole side, maybe jump ahead a little bit. If you do want to see a full real-time tutorial, I do have one on Instagram where I'm just chatting and doing it in real time. But you just want to learn the tips. So I've already shown you how to do this. I'll show you how to restyle the top layer. I think it's more important to get the top layer right than worry about underneath, because you always can hide this underneath. All right, let's skip to the top layer. Also, I wanted to show you with these back layers, I do hold the air wrap a little bit further out. That way it gives me more of a sort of flatter root area. I'm not holding it too much to the side, just so that I can brush that back all together. So if you can see at the back, we're kind of looking like that. And I still tend to work back to front. That's just my convention. I like to make sure that these are all out of the way. speeding this up a little bit, remember it's like 2-3 seconds counting of heat and 10 seconds counting of cool to get perfect bouncy curls. And cool. And done. Now, as we're getting close to the front, I really like to make sure I comb it through, pull it a little bit tighter. What this is going to do is just give me a little bit more tension. I'm not going to dry any kinks into the top of my hair. So I make sure to hold that really tight and directly out. Grab the ends around and then roll that in. And then cooling, cooling, cooling. And this angle just gives me the best volume to go back as well. If you don't like as much volume, holding it horizontally is going to give you a flatter root. And for our last section, I'm going to just do a tiny little one with this longer piece here. This is so tiny. I don't normally do a section this tiny, but I missed it. Like 1 second of heat, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, still 10. Always really, really cold. And then that one's done. And then for this one, I like to brush it forward a little bit. Just imagine, so we're still putting this on top, grabbing the ends around, smoothing them down. And I'm actually going to move it in and out. Nice and cool. And that is going to give us that sort of sweepy 70s style fringe, which I'm really into at the moment. Now, because we've done the cool shot, this is kind of cool, but I do like to let it sit so you can already see how much this side has dropped compared to this side, which is freshly curled. They will definitely even up and I'll be brushing them out. But definitely just go ahead, finish your makeup, do a few things around, finish getting ready, and then we'll come back and I'll show you exactly how to finish this style so that you're not like a medieval lad. I don't know what's happening with his hair. Now I use my trusty Dyson comb, but you want to use any kind of wide tooth comb and really gently brush through the curls. I like to use this comb because I find it just really brings the hair together well, but it doesn't drag through or catch in my hair. And I like to sort of start underneath here, brushing these through into more waves. And if you want to, you can use a serum or an oil or something like that to kind of add some more shine to your hair. But I usually find I don't. Because I love the volume from the Airwrap, I like to kind of just comb it out, run my fingers through a little bit and then let it go, because I can restyle it with products the day 2, day 3, that sort of thing. But when you start to brush it together, you really start to get that sort of more old school Hollywood kind of deep curl through it, and you kind of pull them together and it sits in these nice ridges, which I quite like. And the thing I also like about this curl is that it's quite dramatic on day 1, but for me then over the next couple of days it also just falls into like a really nice soft waves. It sort of goes out to what the wide barrel looks like in my hair, and I get almost like 2 looks in one by using the smaller one. And just keeping that little front fringe section, that little swoopy bang, which I really like. Now, I never get a completely frizz-free result in anything. That is kind of my hair. One trick for this stage now for getting rid of any halo frizz is the supersonic flyaway attachment. But if you don't have everything, just getting a little bit of hairspray and a brush will actually kind of spray the hair. Oh, let me show you. Okay, am I still in focus? Hopefully. Let me just comb out the other side as well. And the thing I love about the Airwrap is just so much volume, but without it being too crazy. It's like a blow dry. It feels like I've gone to a salon and I've asked them to give me like a real 70s blow dry. That's the angle I've gone, especially with these layers around the front. But that is what I really like at the moment. But whatever your hair, you don't need to go for something like this. It can work in any kind of style. And then you want to take like a clean makeup brush, not one of your very expensive ones, just a bargain one. Spray that with hairspray. And then we're going to brush that down to capture any little flyaways. And this is my little trick. I learnt this from Anthony Nader backstage at Fashion Week. And it is one that has been in my kit for many, many years. The reason using a brush, it's just really nice and dense. And if you've got those little fine layers, it just really works. Any new hairs growing through, little broken pieces, whatever the reason, that just kind of sticks them in place without spraying product right onto your hair, which can get too heavy and sticky. Super simple way just to add that in and finish the style. And so this is just one of the looks you can create with the Airwrap. There's so many different ways to use the attachments. This is just one I'm really liking at the moment. And I hope that's given you a bit of a guide with taking it out of the box and using it on your hair for the first few times. Keep practicing, try different combinations, and remember that it will take you a bit longer the first time because it's a totally new tool. There's definitely a learning curve, but it does get easy with practice. And hands down is my go-to. I've taken it traveling. I absolutely love it. I pick a few of my favorite attachments and pop them in my suitcase, and I really can't be without it. Even though I have the Supersonic as well, I do think the Airwrap, these curls, it's just such a really nice way to style my hair wavy, and I just absolutely love it. And if you've got any questions on using the Airwrap or any other styling products, let me know in the comments or send me a message. I'm at hairromance over on Instagram. Have fun with your hair, and I'll see you soon. Bye.